Morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the solar seminar. My name is Ronnie Mandler. The company is Best Energy Power. We are known as the biggest commercial solar installer in the 5 boroughs of New York City. 22% of total commercial installation is ours. What I'm trying to say, we have the knowledge, we have the experience in the 5 boroughs of New York City. The seminar will be divided into two. The first part, I'll do a brief Solar 101, so everybody understand how solar works. The second part, I'll be presenting the economics of solar in the 5 boroughs for a co-op or privately owned for commercial installation. So you'll see how good is the numbers. So first about solar. Solar works on sunlight. That means 365 days a year we have power. It doesn't have to do anything with temperature. Even if we have 20 degrees below, as long as we have light, we have power. We calculate in this area 4.5 hours of daylight on average of 365 days. So when you hear 4.5 hours, it sounds very low, but it's an average. We have December short day, June long day, cloudy days, snow days, bright days, nice days. That kind of data of 4.5 hours average daylight comes from the energy department, and it's a data gathered over the last 30 years. What I'm trying to say, it's accurate. We can rely on that data. I'm sure you all remember last year, January and February, we were covered with snow, so the kind of canopy was cloudy. But then October, November, even part of December, we have nice bright sky, which compensated for the low light that we have in January and February. So at the end of the day, by every end of the year, the average is still 4.5 hours. We have a law which is called net meter. Net meter means that you are using the utility as a bank. So in the summertime, because you have longer daylight, you're going to produce way more energy than what the building actually needs. So all the excess energy is going back to the utility. Your meter literally goes backwards. So in a sense, what you do, you take kilowatt, you deposit it into the grid, into the utility, Con Ed. Then comes winter time, where the daylight is shorter and you need the same amount of energy, so you retrieve those kind of credit that you needed to compensate for the usage of the building. So it works like kind of a bank. You put in, you take when you need, or you use directly from the solar system the kilowatt produced. The panels are warranted for 25 years. As a matter of fact, what is warranted is the output, because when you install a solar system, what you actually buy is the output of the panel, not the panel. So you don't actually care if the panel is dented or doesn't look good. As long as it produces, that's what you care, because that's what you buy. So the warranty for that is 25 years. Somebody giving you 25 years warranty, it's a very long, strong statement. Nothing is going to happen to this. Because if they'll give you 15 years, you'll be happy as well. Going the extra mile and giving you 25 years, it's a very, very strong statement. Nothing is going to happen to this. And the next question that I always have is, okay, what about maintenance? The only maintenance you have to do to a solar system is once in a while take a look and say, oh, how beautiful it is. What I'm trying to say, zero maintenance. I'm sure you all have that small desk calculator that has that strip that, works on light. And I'm sure you have that small desk calculator for 10 years. It fell on the floor. You spilled some coffee when you work. Yet, whenever you push on, it works perfect. No degradation, no cleaning, no maintenance, no nothing. That's the same what you're going to put on the roof. If you think on all the satellite turning the globe for 25 years, they're all powered by solar panels. There's no maintenance, there's no degradation, there's no short of power. It just works over there for years and years. That's the biggest advantage of solar. You have some other advantages on solar. Number one, you're actually putting kind of insulation on the roof. So once you add insulation on the roof, basically you increase the value of the insulation of the whole building, the envelope of the building. So basically it's a kind of a byproduct. The top floor, the envelope of the building is going to stay warmer in the winter and cooler in the summer because you maintain the temperature inside with additional insulation. That means on the back end, you're going to save some energy. Another big advantage is whatever deteriorate the roof membrane is basically the weather, or what we call the weather abuse. Direct sun, rain, snow, wind. Now the roof is going to be covered with solar panels. So the kind of abuse to the top membrane is going to be defeated by the solar panels. So if the warranty on the membrane of the roof, right now you have 5, 10, 15 years, now it's going to double. It's going to be 20 or 30 years because the whole abuse of the weather effect is going to be taken by the solar panel, and those solar panels are warranted for 25 years. Performance. It's going to last much longer, but we are talking about performance or the output of those solar panels. When we come to a roof, we are going to bring a structural engineer to make sure everything is safe and sound. A solar system is being built to 110 miles per hour wind. 110 miles per hour wind is Hurricane 2. If we have more than Hurricane 2 in this area, we have some other problems that we should think of. Any questions until now? Yes, sir. I started it in 2003. Actually, I'm coming into renewable energy, into wind. At that time, we did in the Midwest and the West Coast. Then we started to bring solar panels. The incentive in New York, in what we call downstate, started in 2006 or 7. So we started to do installation. So there is data, sir. There's a lot of data. Solar technology started since 1955 by Sharp. So there's a lot of data not being done over here in New York City, but is elsewhere. California, I think, started in the 80s. As a matter of fact, in the late 70, I think it was Carter. When was Carter? Late 70, I believe. He put solar panels on the White House. It was the whole time that he was the president, and then Reagan came and said, okay, we have to support all, and Reagan took off the solar panels from the White House. Obama put it back. Yes, sir. All right, so the question is how we connect the solar panels to the roof. There are two ways. One you see right now in the picture is the ballast system. So basically you have a ballast system that holds it. There's no penetration to the roof. The disadvantage on a ballast system that you have to leave space between each panel. So we are in latitude 40.7. So you would think that if you put the panels in a tilt of 40 degrees, you'll be perpendicular to the sun. But the sun is higher in the summer, lower in the winter. The difference is about 15 degrees. So you want to put it in the vicinity of 20, 25 degrees tilt, and you want to face it to the south. Now, if you're doing the ballast system, each row, you want to make sure that the first row doesn't shade the second row because the sun is coming from here. So you have to leave 31 inches in between row space. The other way to do on a flat roof, you'll see in a second a picture, not this one, this is on a metal roof. So this is penetrated on the roof. By the way, this is the picture before. We have the record of building the highest system ever built in North America on 42nd Street, the Atelier building, 46-story high. We have a system over there since 2010. We had 2 hurricanes in Sandy. They measured over there 150 miles per hour gust. The solar panel didn't even move. So then we put one panel connected to the other so you don't leave space. But for that reason, we have to penetrate the roof to make sure it holds steady. we give 5 years warranty on our label. So if you have any kind of a leak or any damage to the roof, you'll have it the first winter, the first summer, the first storm. We go the extra mile and give you 5 years warranty. That means nothing is going to happen to this. Good question. So the question is, what is the weight? Solar panels is 3 pounds per square feet. If we do a ballast system, the ballast is 11 pounds per square feet. If we do the other panel where we penetrate, which we call ULA, it's another pound and a half. So it's about 5. We calculate about 6 pounds per square feet, and that's before snow load. So when we design a system, we do kind of a grid of the upright of a 6x6. Uprights to hold the system, so the weight is dispersed evenly. Yes, sir. So the question is kind of, it can pick light in a low light. So the whole technology is evolved these days. How much can you take in low light? So the whole idea is like early morning when sunrise and sunset. The percentage over there is very, very low. So like good panels are getting another 0.5%, 0.75%, but it doesn't mean anything. A question that actually might come is, what about snow? So as you well know, every kind of electric environment creates a little heat. So once you have any kind of light on the panel, it's getting heated. Now it's tilted, so the snow is going to melt much faster. So any roof with solar panels is going to melt the snow much faster than a roof without solar panels. By the way, those snow days are calculated in those 4.5 hours daylight on average that I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation. Yes? Tesla? All right. So the whole idea of battery, I believe the idea of Elon Musk regarding being completely independent, it's a great idea. That means rather than to do the net meter, you are going to actually charge battery, and when you need, you're going to take it off battery. There's another thing which is more technical, like shaving peak demands. That technology will take some years still. It's still, they're trying to do it kind of on a small scale residential. It's not working. There's not enough data to use it still for large size or commercial connected to solar. One of the main problems in those batteries, how would I explain? So think about the bucket, and the bucket is filled up with 10 liters, but the hose is only 3 liters. So you have a bucket of 10 kilowatt, but you can only retrieve 3 kilowatt at a time, so it's not enough. That's the main problem in that technology. There's also kind of fire with New York City Fire Department. There are some problems, to get it approved. So I believe we are 5 to 10 years will be there. Yes?
You mentioned in the beginning that about Condos, where would you store your extra power during the year? If you have your own power plant, and you store your power plant?
So it's not actual storage. When your meter goes backwards, Con Ed takes that kind of power and sell it to your next door neighbor at the full price. So Con Ed nobody stores that energy. It's just a distribution. So if you overproduce, okay, you get the credit, but Con Ed takes that and sell it in a full price to your next door neighbor.
So what you're saying then is that you have to be tied into Con Ed in order to have a solar system?
Well, it's recommended, because otherwise, in the summertime, or I would say from late April to mid-September, you're going to overproduce. What would you do with the extra?
Well, if you have your own power plant, where you have to supply all your energy for your development.
If you have your own, that means you have a turbine. Is that correct? All right. So even if when you have a turbine, if you're talking about, there are some, what's the name in the Bronx? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, Coop City. All right. So Coop City is still connected, and they can distribute it internally, because in Coop City, we did a proposal for Coop City a while ago. And you can't distribute it over there because the only space you can do it is all those 7 garages that you have on top. And it's not enough for everything. So in terms of Co-op City, you'll never overproduce.
Does it lower the Con Ed?
Of course. Okay, so in terms of the question is, how does it affect the Con Ed bill? So what we do, first thing, we'll ask the customer, give us your Con Ed account. We'll go to the Con Ed database and we'll retrieve the data of how many kilowatt you actually used in the last 12 months. Then we'll go to the roof and we measure the roof, how much space you have on the roof. Then we'll do kind of reverse engineering, first of all, to design a system that will offset your the whole annual Con Ed load between what you produce, what you give them, what you take back. And then we'll go to the roof to see if we can fit that system on the roof. So the whole idea is to offset. We usually recommend to offset 96% and not 100% of the last 12 months, because in any building, you're always doing some improvement. For example, in all the hallway, you're going to change all the light to LED. So once you're going to do LED, your consumption is going to be reduced. If you have an elevator, the elevator in 5 years, you're going to change the engine. Any kind of a new engine is going to reduce less of, or consume less of electricity. So the 96% that we are doing right now is going to actually become 100%. So why don't you, so the next question will be, okay, why won't we do over 100% so we can have some money or credit in the bank? Con Edison is not interested that you'll do, it's a kind of competition with like their kind of utility. So they're not interested. By law, they have to be 20% or green on their portfolio until year 2020 and year 2035, 35%. So by law, they have to do it. But they're not interested in this. Because if you go, I'll give you an example. On my house or my office, for the last 7, 8 years, I pay $9 a month. I net meter, I give, I take, I give, I take. I pay them $9 a month. I use their infrastructure, and with the $9 that I pay, they cannot maintain the infrastructure out there, so they are not interested in that. In any case, if you are going to overproduce by the end anniversary of every 12 months of the system since you started, they're going to check the account. If they owe you, you overproduce, and this is why I say go to 96, because those 96% eventually are going to be 100%. If they see that you overproduce, for the overage, because you go and start back from zero, they're going to give you a check. The check is for wholesale price. On average, you pay 18 cents, they'll pay you 6, 7 cents. So the sweet point is to actually offset that at the 18 cents, although you can make it as a money maker for the additional with 6 cents. Yes?
I understand the benefits for the common areas, but we have individual apartments.
The whole idea, so efficiency in solar is what per square feet, and the efficiency in solar is low, is 20%. So usually on an apartment building or a co-op, you can offset only the public usage. There's not enough space on the roof to offset the apartment. It's very rare that you can offset the apartment. Once in a while we can, because the co-op pays for the super usually, so once in a while we can add the super apartment, but that's about it, because it's on the expense of the public usage. Yes, sir. Okay. So the question is, how does it affect the roof system? So there are two things. Number one, we are going to check. So first of all, when you put the solar, I mentioned before, it's going to extend the longevity of the membrane of the roof, because now it's protected from the weather. So the first thing we do, we are going to infrared scan the roof, because we give you a 5 years warranty, and we don't want to get hit that after we install solar, oh, we didn't have any kind of a leak. You put the solar, now we have a leak, please fix the roof. So to protect you and protect us against those kind of things, we go and we infrared scan the whole roof, and we make sure there is no kind of moisture. If it's up to 25% of the roof, at our expense, we'll fix it, because we don't want this to hit us later on when you have the solar system. We have also a roofing. We bought a roofing company, as a matter of fact, 6 years ago, and we can offer you a new roof, at a very competitive price. We have this kind of a division it's almost kind of not for profit. We'll beat anybody's price, that you can have a new roof by GAF. Best Energy Power is also a commercial roofing company. Now you can check on GAF. GAF is the biggest roofing company in the US. So I would recommend to incorporate it with the solar system. Yes, sir.
As far as new developments happen, since like roofs don't have the capacity for solar panels, and they would have the size of scale solar panels. Is there any technology where the solar panel would know, like in the event of like, let's say World Trade Center, it's all glass. Like, is there a technology that can generate solar energy from the glass panels of these guys?
Okay, so if I understand correct, the question is, what about technology? And I'll expand that kind of a question. How do we know that today we are putting solar panels and tomorrow we are not outdated with the system that we put on the roof? Solar system, the panels that we recommend are based on silicon, the purified silicon. The new technology in solar is what is called the thin film or the nanotechnology. And that answers your question, to put it vertical on a building. With silicon, we do 20 watts per square feet. With the new technology, we do 4 or 5 watts per square feet. And the film, the thin film that goes on window, we do about 0.5% per square feet, 0.5 watt per square feet. So to generate the same amount of power, you need 5 times, in terms of nanotechnology, 5 times more roof space. Another thing, on the scraper, if you do it vertical, now in terms of the angle to the sun, you're in the wrong angle. So you're losing a lot of efficiency. It's not worth it to do it. That's my answer. The question probably will be, so how come the new technology is less efficient? Because the new technology is after the big player, meaning utility scale. So they go in the desert in Arizona, and land doesn't have any kind of meaning, and they do a solar farm over there. Or they go upstate, they go on a mountain, and they've just half of the mountain is covered with solar panel, already in the right tilt, because land doesn't mean anything. The new technology is not for building, or actually not for urban area. Yes, sir. What happened if what? So if the question is, what happens if you have to do any kind of a maintenance to the roof? There is no problem, because basically the infrastructure is a kind of almost a Lego. Every panel has 4 screws, okay, to connect to the mounting system. It's very easy to take the panel off, do whatever you need to the roof, and put it back. All right, so we'll move to the numbers. This is an example of a spreadsheet of a 50 kilowatt for a co-op or condo in terms of the number and the economics. So the first kind of assumption is that you pay 18 cents, which is energy in delivery to the building. A lot of buildings have an ESCO. Even if you have ESCO, at the end of the day, you pay 17.9 or 18.3, but the average is always 18 cents. So if we put 50 kilowatt of DC on the roof, the yearly energy production is going to be 56,000 kilowatt annually. That's AC, because the panels that we put on the roof is DC. The amount of space we'll need on the roof is 3,000 square feet. The total gross cost is going to be 187. I'll talk in round numbers. The total gross cost is 187,000. You are entitled to a rebate, to a cash rebate from NYSERDA, which is the state agency, for $35,000. That $35,000 of a rebate you can assign to the installer, to us, we are going to chase that money from NYSERDA. NYSERDA is going to pay us that money only once the system is up and running and tested, so everything we said on paper really works. So you can actually see that about 20% of the cost is being held by a state agency to make sure everything we did in writing really holds. So basically, your initial out-of-pocket, since you're going to assign it, is $152,000. You are entitled as a 30% tax credit from the federal, which is calculated 30% on the 187. That kind of credit is divided by all the shareholders of the building. So let's say you have 10 shareholders, and each one owns the same amount of share, just for the example of 10%. So each one of the shareholder in the co-op or condo is entitled to $5,000, $5,600 on his personal tax return. It's a credit, it's not a deduction. So it's a dollar to dollar against liability. Sometimes the co-op shareholders, some of them are not paying taxes for a certain year. You can stretch it over 6 years. But the idea, 6 years, yeah. But the idea is that you have the benefit that you can take it on the first year. The second benefit is New York State tax credit, which is, it's a formula how to calculate it, but you're entitled over here to $46,000. So each one of the shareholders, again, let's say you have 10% of the share, you're entitled to additional $4,600 credit. I repeat again, it's not a deduction, it's a credit, dollar to dollar on your tax liability, on his personal tax return. The next line is yearly utility saving. The yearly utility saving is $10,000. The way it's calculated is the 18 cents that you see on the top, multiplied by the 56,000 kilowatt that the system is going to produce. So it's $10,000 annually on your account for Con Ed. You can see that basically we did over here an escalation of 3.7% every year of that saving. The data shows that in our downstate, Con Ed increased by about 5% every year on average. Some years more, some years less. The average is 5%. We want to be conservative, so this is why we put over here 3.7%. So you can see escalation of 3.7% on the saving every year. We want to be conservative. This is why we don't calculate the 5%. We calculate only 3.7%. One more thing that I want to add, as we all heard, they're going to close Indian Point. Indian Point is the nuclear plant that Como right now decided to close it in 2019. Indian Point, the nuclear plant, is 33% of what's so-called downstate. So basically, once they're going to close, they'll have to import more power. They're going to import, then it will cost more. We didn't calculate it over here, but your saving is going to be much bigger because you're not going to have those kind of escalation once they're going to import the power. The next line is New York City tax abatement, real estate taxes. You are entitled, yes, sir. The 50 kilowatt is a DC. So it's a 50 kilowatt multiplied by 4.5 hours, multiplied by 365 days a year, okay? But then you have to do kind of reduction because this is DC to AC. It's about 23%. That's the formula. We are talking right now on the New York City tax amendment. You are entitled to 20% tax credit on the total out-of-pocket of 152 divided into 4 years, which is 5% a year, which is $7,600. So we, as installer, we are taking care of it. With New York City, you don't have to do anything. It goes a part of the permitting with the Department of Building. So if you calculate all those benefits, you see that your initial out-of-pocket for the first year out of the 187 is only $31,000. This is 70% subsidy. With 70% subsidy, you cannot go wrong. Second year, you can see that you have the saving, and you can see that you have again the tax abatement. So the positive cash flow is 18,000. If you calculate the negative cash flow of first year 31, now you are down to 13. So basically in 3 years, you have your money back. 3 years return of investment is 33% on your money. Where can you get today 33% guaranteed? And when I say guaranteed, as long as you use the electricity, it's guaranteed. But then comes another point, and building owners are saying, okay, you know what, we might not have the cash, or we cannot get the cash to put the initial $152,000. All right. So let's say you don't have the money right now. We are going to introduce to you a financier. Actually, we can introduce 3 financiers. We have nothing to do with this. We are going to introduce you a financier. It's up to you. It's between you and him. There's one that we recommend particular because whenever we present the 3 of them, he's only the one that gets it. We have no ties. If you decide to go to your bank and get a line of credit, it's fine. So we'll be more than happy to assign you to somebody. You can get, once we finish, I'll be able to introduce you to that company. I'll be more than happy. So the idea over here that you're going to finance it for 7 years, that means nothing out of pocket, and this is calculated 6.75%. 6.75% is not good, it's not bad, you might be able to negotiate it, but it's showing you, because you have 33% return of investment, it doesn't matter even if you finance it with a credit card at 11%, because you still have a delta up to the 33%. So we said you actually have to finance the net amount after the credit. You can see $152,000. $152,000 at 6.75% is $2,000 a month. $2,000 a month means $27,000 annually. All the benefit, it's a capital loan, so you own the system on day one. So you're entitled to all the benefit on day one. So on $152,000, basically you have to pay every year $27,000. But look at the other benefit. You have still the federal tax. You still have the energy system equipment credit, that's New York State. You have the yearly utility, and you have the tax abatement. Basically, on the first year, you have a positive cash flow of $93,000 in your pocket. On the second year, you still have to pay the $27,000, but you have only electric saving and $7,600 of the tax abatement, which is about almost $18,000. But you have to pay $27,000. So on the second year, you're in a negative cash flow for $9,000. But you carry from the first year the $93,000 positive cash flow. So you're going down on the second year in terms of cash flow to 84. Same goes to year 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, that you can see for the year you are negative, but you are carrying a lot of positive from year 1 when you install the system, all those credits. Basically, what I'm trying to show you over here, that the benefit for the system is going to pay for the loan. So you are never with money out of pocket. And that's the biggest advantage in solar. Yes, sir. So we do everything A to Z. Whenever you bring your accountant, we'll send you a link. If most accountants don't know that much about it, all right, we'll send them the link to the IRS code. They can verify everything that I say over here. Be more than happy to send you the link to the IRS code that every accountant can verify everything I say over here.
Does this solar tie into the income tax credits or the energy savings tax credits included with that one?
No, there's a special sector for solar. Yes, sir. It's the same. It's going to the shareholders, same as a co-op. So the federal tax goes to each one of the shareholders. Usually in a condo, each one has a different amount of share. All right, so I gave an example with 10%, but one has 10, one is 20, one is 30, one is 5, by the amount of shares, okay? So let's say you have 20% of the shares in that kind of a condo, you are entitled to 20% on the $56,000 on your personal tax return. Co-op and condo for tax benefit is the same. Yes, sir.
What happens to that credit if a person's building is not working?
That's bad. That's his. No, because the corporate, any kind of a co-op or condo works as a not-for-profit organization. So this, I'm sorry?
He says that that tax credit is not working. Can you sell the tax credit?
You cannot on a personal. You can do it as a company, but the co-op or condo is a not-for-profit organization, right? Any more question on this? Yes?
Is there a general cost per square foot in terms of installation? If you're talking about a 40,000 square foot installation or 20,000 square foot installation, is there a cost per square foot that you could just say, this is what it is in round terms?
So the question is there cost per square foot on installation? The answer is no. The cost is calculated per kilowatt installed, because you can have a very small roof with a huge electricity. You can have a huge roof with very small consumption of electricity. So it has nothing to do with square foot. All right? It's cost per kilowatt installed. Usually it's in the vicinity of 350, 375 per watt installed. And then the whole idea is to calculate what do we have to offset based on your last 12 months usage.
You said that the large roof, small usage, like in a warehouse or another facility. Is it I heard of some kind of strategy where you can sell your excess electricity to the guy next door?
Okay, so the question is excess electricity. There's a new law, which is a very good question, it's a new law which is called remote net meter. So let's say you have two buildings. You have building A, so let's say the co-op is two structures, building A and building B, okay? It's the same co-op, same owner, but building B is completely shaded for another tower next to it, so you cannot install solar. Because actually the bill that you get from Con Ed is an accounting function, okay? So if it's under the same name, you can produce in A and get the credit in B. So we can design a system to offset the two buildings on A. First of all, you'll offset A, and the excess is going to offset building B. And
Another strategy where it's not the same, you get a self-storage space.
what you are talking about, community solar, all right. Community solar is also good for a co-op if you have a huge kind of roof. That means it's very rare to be done, okay? So you have a very big roof, okay? And the PLP or the public usage is very small. And then you do another system which is called shared solar, shared community. So all the tenant in the building is actually a community. You need to be 10 people to participate in that. At least 10 people to participate in that, and each one has his own share in that kind of solar array on the building. But because there's limited space, usually it's a percentage of his bill.
That's state to state, like have that rule.
No, this is New York. It just started a couple of months ago in New York. Any more questions? We are down on booth 121. We gave you a lot of information. Usually, you know what we said, the cassette at one point is full. If you want us to repeat or you have again, we'll be more than happy to answer all kinds of questions that comes again and again. Yes, sir.
Is there a way for us to get access to this chart?
It's a kind of propriety, but if you'll give us a building, okay, give us the Con Ed, we'll prepare one for that kind of a building. We'll create one, a spreadsheet for the building. You mentioned before in a new development. So in a new development, because you don't have the record or you don't have the data, we'll ask you for a load ladder from your electric engineer, so we can calculate how can we offset that load in a new development. All right, thank you very much, everybody, for coming.